And so the retail investors, people like you and me, are helping to prove that this model works. And that's really the value of the everyday investor. So you're getting in early, becoming one of those investors, but it will eventually, eventually, because institutional financing is so inexpensive and non-dilutive over time, we will move to that. But for the time being, jump in. Water's great.
Financial independence,
freedom,
financial picture,
independent financially,
financial future,
financial freedom and wealth,
financial independence.
Get your fill, financial independence and long life. Hello and welcome to another episode of Get Your Fill, Financial Independence and Long Life, where we explore cool, interesting ways to achieve those two goals, and cool, interesting people come on to help us do just that. And today, Riggs Eckelberry is with us. He is a nationally renowned entrepreneur who deploys his personal break to build process to help rebuild the water industry, which has reached a critical breaking point in recent years, despite being essential to the planet's survival. As the founding CEO of OriginClear, Riggs has developed innovative solutions to help businesses face rising water bills by tapping into new investment markets. He's even pioneering the development of water stablecoins, a cryptocurrency backed by water assets. With a diverse background in nonprofit management, oceangoing navigation, and technology disruption, Riggs is uniquely qualified to bring change to an outdated and overrun industry. Phew, that's a mouthful. Riggs, thanks for being with us today.
I wish there was like some spice, like some of the bad things he's done,
Yeah, right.
Throw it in.
Yeah, let's start with that. What is something that you
not?
hope nobody ever finds out about?
Well, actually, I made just as a side note, in the year 2000, I was in marketing at the time, and all of a sudden, all the research budgets went away because I was in the .com, and so I learned to just start doing test launches of whole companies, and I trademarked it as mistake-based marketing. So I made a virtue out of what was a fault. It's like, and then people look at me like, "Wait a minute, you just created that whole company, and then you're destroying it." I'm like, "Yep, next, please." And it was fun. It was definitely fun.
Sounds like fun. It's that's interesting. Cool. I think mistake-based marketing, I mean, we're all doing it. We're just not smart enough to, monetize it.
Well, also you have to make it kind of your religion. In other words, do it consciously, not just fail and then go drink for a while and come back, just kind of like boom, boom, boom. You know what I'm saying?
So I want to understand exactly about your business, because I think of most of the water being sort of owned and controlled by the municipalities. Is that not a valid assumption?
That's been the case. And to be clear, we're not advocating for your drinking water to be privatized. That's been a problem wherever it's been done in America and the UK and elsewhere. They always cut corners and you end up with bad water. So the cities should continue. There's a whole federal system with, you know it. What we're concerned about is the dirty water. Now, that is not only is it a problem because increasingly toxic industrial waste, but also it affects our health. It's all being recycled through the forever chemicals and all that terrible stuff. So the wastewater has to be addressed. And frankly, the municipal utilities, cities and counties are completely overwhelmed. They don't have the budget. By 2029, just 5 years from now, 4 years now, the American Society of Civil Engineers says will be $430 billion a year in deficit of what we should be spending on water infrastructure. So almost $500 billion each year is not being met. And of course, then things start falling apart again and again and again and again. I was hearing about in Los Angeles yesterday that water pressure was an issue. So water infrastructure is critical. And what's happening is it's not being funded. Yeah. We're not going to get into why. I just think that people take water for granted, so therefore it's not a voting issue. But it's badly underfunded. The solution then is, since industry and agriculture are 90% of the water demand, when I was in California, they told us to take short showers, but we're only 10% of the demand, right? The 90% is industry and agriculture. And if you can get them off the grid, do their own water treatment, you relieve the entire system, and it can survive with the budget it has, and people can get good water.
And that sounds like something that's a lot easier to say than it is to do.
It's been a big, first of all, the water industry is this huge monolith, and they don't change fast because, it's a lot of public health issues and so forth. But we have found that there's two things that work well. Number one, businesses actually, when you tell them about it, they actually prefer being on their own. Do you know that they're now being sued for water that they sent to the city, wasn't properly cleaned, and now people have been exposed to this whatever toxic waste, like as I was saying, forever chemicals. And so the original polluter is being held responsible, even if they sent it to the city. So they're going, well, what the heck? I have to control this. So taking control of their effluents, escaping the inflationary spiral that's going on. I don't know if you've noticed, but water rates are rising nationwide
Yeah.
faster than college tuition and healthcare. So it's kind of invisible because it's been a small bill, but it's increasingly a larger and larger bill for people and for businesses. So they escape that. And the most important thing of all, I think, is to kind of get out of the clutches of the city. They're like, no, we're good. We meet permit requirements. We're good. So, and very, very important. If they're treating their own water, they can recycle it, right? So they can save on water rates and also help with droughts. So the businesses are like what we call decentralized water. They like, number one. Number two, that wasn't enough. That was making it happen. Wasn't fast enough. We decided to create water as a service, meaning please don't pay for your machine. We'll continue to own it, and you just pay on the meter like you used to, and we'll put a machine on your site. It's a little pod, and we'll maintain it, and that's proven very, very popular. And to fund it, we decided to appeal to the everyday investor, people like you and me, who can invest as little as $1,000 all the way up to, typically 100,000, to get a profit share from this. And they invest, we use the capital to buy these machines and so forth. And that's what's very exciting. It's turning into, you know, a lot like oil and gas or real estate, where you have the ability to invest in assets. And frankly, holding assets is a good thing these days.
Yes, it is. It certainly is. So I'm trying to understand, like I'm trying to visualize how you can capture water in an agricultural setting, right? They water it, it goes into the ground. How do you get it back? Are you able to, because it seems like they'd need a lot less chemicals, right? A lot less fertilizer. It's not getting washed off all the time. It seems like it would be a great thing, but I can't understand how it can get recaptured.
Okay, well, of course, we're talking about the waste, right? So what happens is even in an irrigated environment, you do get runoff. You get agricultural runoff.
Mhm.
That runoff must be treated and not sent to the city, number one. Number two, it should be reused as much as possible.
Right.
Now, frankly, agriculture has been, especially in, for example, the Imperial Valley, has worked very hard to do that because it's a no-brainer. What we're really talking about is businesses like mobile home parks, RV campgrounds, housing developments, all kinds of businesses that, mid-sized businesses, you know, that are producing cosmetics or whatever it is,
Right.
they are increasingly better off by being off the grid. So really, I think that the first and foremost issue is industrial.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Now, how well how well educated, how well integrated are you into these sort of environments where is it sort of like they're calling you and saying, "Okay, I really need you, get in here, bring your machines," or are you going to each sort of stakeholder, each location and having to educate them on the values and the benefits of what you have to offer?
Johnny Water Seed, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, fortunately, it took us a long time to find where to tap into the demand because there's pent up demand.
Yeah.
Where do you find it? And originally, because we have operating companies in Texas and in Virginia that do the work.
Mhm.
We it wasn't working because they were primarily talking to companies that were putting jobs out to bid. And if you put a job out to bid, you've already fixed your capital problem. You figured out already, okay,
Yeah.
I know how to fund this, right? So then we finally found that if you go out to the field service networks, the people who maintain machines out there, they're the ones who have the relationship with the client when the client first has a problem. Oh my gosh, the city just said they wouldn't treat my water. We're having to truck it to the other county, as has happened many, many times.
Wow.
Um, and what do you think? What do I do? And the field maintenance organization is kind of the first on the ground. And that's who we tapped into. And we have, frankly, unlimited demand. People are like, oh, it's free? I'll go with that. I'll sign. And, it's like the solar panel, things where you just sign and you get a lower utility bill. What's the problem? And you even look good to your neighbors, like, yeah, I got a solar panel. So, so it sells itself if you get people at the right point when they haven't solved the capital problem already.
Mhm. So then how do you make money? So you've got the machine in place, and for example, with solar panels, one of the way that the solar panel companies make money, of course, is with all the I forget what you call them, the credits that they can
Sure.
then sell to the utility companies. Is there a similar thing in water, or is it just you're just making it like with the monthly fee that you're charging them?
Right. So the investors do get the benefit of depreciation and bonus depreciation, which we think will come back in this administration.
Hmm.
So accelerated depreciation, that's Section 179. It's all good.
Hmm.
Um, but you're right. There's no special subsidies, but it's extremely profitable for the water company. A water company sells a system one time and say it's $500,000. Well, call it a million. So their net profit is about 150,000. It's not a high profit business.
Yeah.
But by not selling it and funding that $1 million from investors, they then recapture that profit up to 15 times in 20 years. So it's basically because of the magic of monthly payments, it recaptures and it makes money again and again and again from the same machine. So,
Hmm.
monthly recurring revenue is an amazing thing. Look at I'm running Microsoft Office. I used to spend $130 one time for that.
Right.
Now it's $20, whatever, $25 a month, and I don't mind
Yeah.
because they add all these features and the OneDrive and the this and that, and the other thing. So, um, you know, besides I can't complain, and it's
Right.
that or
What good would it
nothing,
do?
right? But the point is that it's very powerful, and end users. Let's say you're a brewery. Well, you were not funded to clean the water. You were funded to make beer,
Right.
and so people often don't have the capital. We once helped a company, a mobile home park, and in Pennsylvania. In fact, it's in the news. If you Google Neville Home Park, literally the poor lady was faced with closure if she didn't upgrade her sanitation, and she had to sell half the equity in the park to pay for that system. We didn't have what we do now. We were just selling machines, and
Yeah.
it's okay. It's 50% of something is better than nothing, but in the new scenario, she wouldn't have to do it at all. She would just sign. So the ability to not have CapEx but use OpEx instead is very powerful for end users. They're willing to pay a bit more just for it to be on a monthly bill. And also, by the way, it's maintained. They don't have to have a water expert. Because when you say, oh, I'm going off the grid, now you've got to be that sewage worker that used to be at the city. Well, I don't know about you, but that's not a business people want to get into. With water as a service, what we call water on demand, that's our brand.
Hmm.
You just go ahead and sign this thing, and then we take care of it. So all you got your regular janitor can, you know, do the simple stuff. If it's
Yeah.
complicated, we take care of it, and that is very persuasive. It's a no muss, no fuss kind of solution.
So now I'm still visualizing, and I hope I'm not like dumbing it down too much. I imagine that people who are hearing all this for the very first time are sort of in my same boat wanting to really understand it, certainly before they'd want to invest in it. And so now, like when we were thinking agriculture, I thought, okay, you capture it and then you put it back into the dirt. But now we're talking about turning it into actual drinking water, right? So you're at a mobile home park. Am I understanding this right? You're at a mobile home park and all the waste that comes along with that, and then you're putting that back into my kitchen tap. Is that true? Is that what's happening?
The no, it's first of all, it's not commercially. It's easier for them to just treat it to like groundwater levels,
Yeah,
either irrigate, send it back to the city, recycle it for sprinklers and so forth.
right, right.
So it costs a lot more to take it to potable. And the second problem is people don't like toilet to tap. They do not like it. Like, oh,
Can
please.
you blame them? I mean,
Right. So it's a problem. This is why municipalities have struggled with this. They've wanted to do the recycle, but there's a terrible public relations problem. But for example, let's take a brewery. They can achieve 50% recycling by just reusing the water for wash downs, for steam vessels, and so forth. They don't have to make beer with it,
right, right.
right? Which would be unique. That's like, I'm not even.
And not in a good way.
No, not good. Um, so you can have non-potable uses, and that's the most efficient and cost-effective way to do it. Upgrading to potable is neither desired nor is it financially worthwhile.
Okay, so now I'm still stuck in the plumbing.
Okay, so let's
And, and,
take so
and,
let's
and
take
so that's what I'm saying. Like, so now when I turn, no matter what I turn on in my house, it's coming from the same source. So now do I need two sources basically?
okay, fresh water from the city is just a simple pipe, no
Yep.
big, right?
Yep.
It's the sewage lines that break. Every 2 minutes in America, we have a sewage line break. You don't want sewage line breaks. It's not fun. Uh, People come in and they have trucks and terrible stuff.
Yeah,
So,
it's dicky.
because why? Because most sewage is fed to the city under pressure, and so gets old, breaks, pressure, etc. So that's what we're eliminating that dependency. For example, right now there is a land boom between Dallas and the Oklahoma border, north of Dallas, all the way up to Lake Denison. Now, it's going so fast that they're accelerating ahead of the sewage. So now they're 10, 15 miles away from sewage. That's too expensive. So we've been putting in these on-site units that look like little containers, and you drop them in, plug them in, and all they have to have is a pad and a water and electrical connection, and then they're done. Um, that's very attractive to the real estate developer because it simplifies it. Now, where do they get their water? Again, they can run a water line, or they can, take it from a well and sanitize it. That's also fine. The point is that the freshwater problem is not as great a problem as the wastewater problem.
So is this, I, so in New Hampshire, we had the same situation. I mean, I'm not in New Hampshire at this moment, but I have property there, and most of the property, a lot of places that are not in a city, so they don't have the option of municipal water. They're just digging a well, and they don't have the option of municipal sewer. They're putting in a large leach field and all that. Is this sort of an alternative to a leach field?
Yes, as you probably know, regulations have tightened up on septic tanks and requirements for leach fields being so far away from the house, and so you have to have a
Right,
huge lot size, and it's just not feasible if you're doing a townhome development, for example.
right.
So also septic tanks fail,
They
15,
do.
20% of them. And when they do, you're causing groundwater contamination, viruses, bacteria. Last I heard, those were bad. So what we put in is a closed circuit system, black water recycling. And so what it does is it treats the black water coming out, and then you can tap the treated water for your golf course, whatever,
Yeah.
and you're filling a sludge tank that has to be emptied out once a year.
Okay.
So
So
that's
it's yeah, similar to the technology behind like a typical septic system with a leaching field and things like that. But except that you're rather than leaching it just off into the ground, you can send it someplace where it could do some good.
correct. And of course, when it's leached, yes, the septic tank has digested it. But again, digestion we have a very controlled industrial process inside that box, which is very much the same as septic tank. It's a bio membrane process where basically little friendly bacteria are eating away at the stuff. But you might have to add things like ultrafiltration and so forth, which leach fields don't. So we meet certain standards, whatever the standards are that the city requires for treated water. At that point, you can reuse it however you like.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so now that I've grasped like the I mean, I think it's all pretty. I'm thinking, okay, now I understand how the technology works. I understand how, people are making money for it. So you're doing it instead of, for example, like an ETF or something. You're doing it as a crypto investment.
Okay, so right now we decided to separate these things out because we were in an administration that did not like crypto. So we're like, okay, not doing crypto, but because so basically right now you have a piece of that water system. All right, now that piece is transferable. You get dividends and so forth.
Hmm.
Managing that at a at a pilot level is not a big deal. ACHs, physical transfers, all that's good. But stable coins are taking off, and there's a reason why is because you just embed it all into a smart contract so that automatically you're getting your distributions without having to go through ACH. So if you're in Singapore, it's not a big deal. Number one. Number two, you can transfer your contract very easily through the token, transfer process. So it basically, the other day I read that Starlink is all the Starlink payments come from all over the world are being sent in through tokenization because it's so much simpler.
Hmm.
So what we're doing is we created a concept called dollar H2O, which is simply a digital wrapper for these payments, but also for that contract that you can then transfer. You see, there's never been really a water market for treated water. There's a water
Right,
market for water rights. That's a totally different game.
right.
So, and the reason why I tried to do a coin in 2018, and the problem I had back then was that there was no stable price for water. Well, now that we are treating it and every gallon is being paid for it, now we have a price per gallon that we've
Hmm.
established. And over time, enough critical mass, you start getting little micro markets and customers, people who are interested in there's already somebody has an existing share of they're done with a series LLC, just like real estate, right?
Hmm.
So, so you have a piece of a water system and you want to sell it. There's nothing to it, right? We want to make it very, very easy with KYC, know your customer, to do the proper transfers.
And you said that the I'm just wondering what the life is of a system. Thinking about, it's $1 million, you put it in there and then you get your dividends 20 years later, it's paid for itself 50 times. But what are what is the life of a normal system?
As more like 15 times. So 50 would be wonderful.
Oh, okay, 15. Sorry.
But anyway,
I always misunderstand on the optimistic side.
I love it. I love it. But I don't want people to go, you said. So anyway, okay. So first of all, physically, we have, if people want to go to modularwater.com, they will see that we have these polyethylene and highly durable plastic enclosures. These systems can last 100 years easily. So durability is not an issue.
Yeah,
Practically speaking, it's going to be a 20 or 30-year contract maximum because businesses aren't going to commit to longer. It's just how it is.
right, right.
You just, if anybody cares, 20 or 30 years later, you re-up. But what happens is you get the distributions all along, and then when that is wrapped up, that contract's wrapped up, you get distributions from it, and that's the end of that. So, so the investors participate in the ongoing life and the sunsetting of that particular contract. So it's pretty simple. Like I say, 50, 60 years is, one of our early sales for this modular technology was to an insurance company because they think in long life cycles. Now, we're building a new headquarters and we want it to last 100 years. So we built them, for their, this was for their cleaning their cooling water. But basically, there are increasing customers who are interested in long duration. Um, for example, there's something I rarely talk about, which is pump stations, which take your water's going along like this, and it's got to go up. And the minute it has to go up, you got to have a pump. And so what it is, it's a simple shaft with a pump at the bottom, and it pushes it up. Well, when it corrodes, as in cement or steel or fiberglass, that starts pouring water into the groundwater. You have water loss. And if it's a sewage line, again, you have contamination. But we
Right.
have these high density polyethylene or polypropylene enclosures that you don't have to worry about. And that matters because I read it in the UK, they will get around to replacing a pump station every 200 years. And they only last 20. So, hello. By the time they get it, it's just dirt. The concrete's turned into dirt. It's like,
Just
come on.
soggy dirt.
Oh, terrible. So that's the problem is that so this better materials is very important because now you can confidently, you know, build a life cycle that you're not going to have to replace the equipment during that life cycle.
Yeah. Cool. So I like it. So now let's say that people are like, wow, this is so cool. I want to be on the cutting edge of water life technology, all this cool stuff. Now, how would they get involved in actually being an investor?
Right. So we are spinning off. OriginClear is in the business of creating water businesses, and we are now busy spinning off the water on demand unit, which has all these capabilities plus that financial, the capital element. And you can go to originclear.com, and there's a surprise, surprise, there's an invest now button. Uh, and
Hey,
you
that's a good
get,
idea.
great, who knew? You get shares in OriginClear, also in water on demand, and you get that residual contract, which even after you sell the shares, you still get the residuals, right? And you get warrants in case, I become the new Elon Musk for water and now it's worth a lot of money. You get the warrants, you can, repeat the investment with, up to I think it's 200%. So two warrants. So technically it's almost three times. So that's it's why are we being so generous? And the reason is because it's early. In order for us to get institutional investment, we have to prove that these systems run well, that financially they throw off profits, that you don't get a lot of abandonments, this, that, and the other thing. And so the retail investors, people like you and me, are helping to prove that this model works. And that's really the value of the everyday investor. So you're getting in early, becoming one of those investors, but it will eventually, eventually, because institutional financing is so inexpensive and non-dilutive over time, we will move to that.
Yeah.
But for the time being, jump in. Water's great.
And are you investing in a specific, like I own shares in, or I own the whatever the rights to this insurance company's system, or is it more like a bucket of systems?
Originally, it was a bucket because we were concerned about this regulation state by state. They're very different.
Yeah.
But we've come around to believing that it's very important to give someone a piece of the actual because of the Section 179 accelerated depreciation is very, very important.
Right, right. You
So,
lose that if you're in a big bucket, right?
right, exactly, you lose it. So now what we're doing is we're creating sequential LLCs, and people have that slice of that. But let's say it's $1 million system. You have 10 people at $100,000. They each have 1/10 of that system,
Right.
and it's passed through. So that's really the way to do it, just like real estate.
So then what happens if that company that you're locked into goes bankrupt and they can't pay their water bills anymore?
Well, we have repossession rights. So what's great about it is because these are modular, we can literally, and in the contract, we have a right of way to go in, pick that thing up and go away with it. So that's built into the financial model that there's going to be a certain amount of churn, very low,
Yeah.
because you get credit-worthy customers, but it's
Right.
possible. Well, that thing, we just grab it, take it away. It's not, we try not to put them in the ground, which is more work. But even then, it's just a container, even if it's in the
Right.
ground. So we can repossess. It's a more of a rent to, you know, like renting a, like a rent a cycle kind of market where we're more renting than they never get title. It's
Right.
ours. We have
Yeah.
eminent
It's like
domain over it.
air lease for water. Like
Yeah, there you
the
go.
air lease company that does they lease planes to. It's a great company to invest in.
Like
At least
NetJets,
I've.
that kind of thing, you mean?
Sorry.
Like, oh, I get it. So this is like NetJets, but you can have a piece of the plane that you own.
No, this is it. The company's called Air Lease, and what they do is they lease, like they might JetBlue might, they might buy 7 planes for JetBlue and lease it to them. It's that kind of a thing. So it's not you're not buying a specific plane. It's just a company that leases airline. I mean, planes to. So you look at them and you're like, oh my God, they have all this debt. Well, yeah, they do have all this debt because they just bought 7 jets to sell to Boeing, or whatever. So.
It's hard
Boeing's
debt.
a bad example.
They
They wouldn't
haven't
sell
yet.
them to Boeing. They'd buy them from Boeing and sell them to, or lease them to American Airlines or whatnot. So
No,
that's,
you're absolutely right. It's collateralized debt. Um, in our case, it's not even a lease, and the reason is because it's very hard to get leasing approval on a water system. It's too complex.
right, right.
Too many things can fail, et cetera. So we just go ahead and literally it's a service contract,
Yep.
not even a lease. And
Not even a lease. Okay.
they default, we just take it back. Thank you very much.
Yep. Easy peasy. So what am I not asking? What do I need to know? What am I not smart enough or, whatever, savvy enough to understand in order to ask the question? Like, what do other people ask you?
Okay. Well, the very important thing is obviously you don't just do willy-nilly here, there. You have communities that are more or less in need. And one of them that we really tapped into is the mobile home park space. And
Mhm.
the reason is mobile home parks use what's called passive water treatment. You ever heard of passive water treatment? Just
No, it doesn't
throw
sound
it in the
very convincing.
lagoon. There's a lagoon. It goes in the lagoon.
Oh,
That's it. Thank you very much, ma'am.
no
Um,
way.
or septic tanks, but many, many lagoons. So there's, 16% of our real estate base of the people are living in mobile home parks, and it's a growing space, primarily because of, inflation and so forth.
Yeah.
So what we have is a lot of states are requiring mobile home parks to upgrade, like that story I told you about Neville
Yeah.
Home Park in Pennsylvania. So we're finding that first of all, it's an easy solution because human waste is pretty easy to treat. It's not like Agent Orange,
Right, exactly.
unless people are eating Agent Orange, but too many Fruit Loops. But
It's
let's
probably
say
true.
that this is not a health podcast, I know, so we won't get into that. But what we so you can do a whole string of these because there's these maintenance networks and so forth. They kind of specialize. So what we're really focusing on is getting into the mobile home park space. And for that purpose, for example, we've achieved pre-approval of our basic model by the state Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, TCEQ. That's the state EPA. They've pre-permitted our machine so it can go in quick. And this is the big thing I wanted to bring up, which is what's going to speed all this adoption up is, of course, getting more fast-tracked regulations.
Right, right.
But we're not going to sit around and wait for DOJ to do the change. We are simply putting in place this pre-permitting, which the departments are great. Like, good, okay, we'll look over the thing. Okay, looks good, approved. And that way, for them, it's easier and faster. So we're putting in we're basically what we're finding is that the municipalities, they're happy. Like, please take all this stuff off our plate.
Yeah.
The zoning authorities and so forth, permitting, again, it's not a big deal, and we're resolving it with these pre-permitting stuff. So if we can just continue to get the regulations out of the way by doing this kind of advanced work, and that's where it benefits to do a specific application because you can go in a vertical application, bum 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 bum, And you're not going, oh, now you're a car dealership. Whoa, the one-offs are very difficult to scale.
Yeah.
So, so we're focusing on what is naturally distant from sewage, which is, like I say, trailer parks, but also RV campgrounds, freeway rest stops. Um, there's a lot of them. And then, like I was saying, the housing development is booming, especially since COVID. A lot of rural escape going on,
Right.
and it's these rural water utilities are not geared up for it. You have properties in New Hampshire,
Mm.
um, that the rural exurbia is becoming, crowded, and
Unfortunately, that was the whole idea, but okay.
I know I thought I was escaping, and here's the guy I didn't want to see ever again.
I know, following me.
I know. Um, and you did not come on my property. Like, excuse me, my dog is nice. But anyway, the whole Exurbia thing, which is because you and I are working virtually, I could be anywhere, so that's a natural thing.
Right.
Um, and I'm unhappy for the all the commercial real estate owners in the cities, but that's the trend. So in a way, the real crisis is at the rural or near rural areas, which are just not geared up for it. So we just take the load, and that way a business can move. Let's say you move from Dallas suburbs to a place like Sherman, Texas, or further out, Buda, Texas, places like that. You get cheaper land, etc., and you don't have to worry about the sewage problem.
Interesting. Well, this is very cool. I'm impressed. I like it.
It's, people, the biggest challenge I've had is to make people realize there's a problem because most of the time, the government authorities are like, no, 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 everything's fine, don't worry. And in Compton, a few years ago, they had brown water started coming out, Compton, California, which is primarily black community. And brown water starts coming out, and the city goes, oh, don't worry, it's just magnesium. I'm like, no, we want clear water. Just that's how it is. And the local utility said, yeah, it'd be nice if you'd funded us for the last 10, 15 years, but your city council didn't care. So the problem got solved. That utility got absorbed into the LA Department of Water and Power. Boom. Okay, that took care of the problem.
Yeah.
But it's symptomatic of what goes on, which is you get underfunding. There's hundreds of thousands, 150,000 water systems in America. Some of them very, very small. And so they just put up their hands like, what do I do? We are basically replacing all that. Now, when you take a monopoly like this and you break it up, you create much larger markets. We're going to have a lot more interesting things happen with better water recycling, water availability, all kinds of good stuff. I could go on, as you can tell.
Well, I think we have enough information to like click the button and learn some more research, learn some more information. So we're going to put your website in the show notes, but will you just remind us again of what it is real quickly?
Sure. OriginClear.com. Click on Invest Now. And then also feel free to join my X handle, which is Riggs Eck. We're, of course, Origin Clear is also a great handle, but I like to my personal X is a bit spicier, so
Cool. Awesome. It's been fun talking to you, Riggs. And this is really, I love when people come on and tell me things I didn't know before. And that's definitely what's happened here. I hope I didn't bore you with all my crazy questions. Um,
you're
but I
not the
have
first.
not
You're
the,
not the
I'm no
first,
doubt. So let me ask you another really crazy question. Did you move to Clearwater after you started the business, or it was just like, it just
right? It's
seems,
like clear water. I like that. Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to move there. That's the town I want to live in.
We we were done with we had two fires, and it's terrible to talk about it today because it's happening again.
Yes.
But we were in Los Angeles and we had one fire came within 100 yards of the house, and another one came roaring past us. And we're like, you know what? I'll take hurricanes over fires any day of the
Yeah.
week, right? So fires and earthquakes. I was in LA for many years. Love it, love the people. But so Then it was a matter of where to move in and Texas, Florida, whatever. And I have relatives here, so it's one of those things. So it wasn't because the water is clear. That's not the reason. But it's a great place to live. You can still get, decent real estate. I was showing you earlier what the front of my house looks like. Uh, I can't tell you what this would cost in LA, for example, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and you can tell people that they named the town after you. Like, well, yeah, Clearwater. It's my business. Once I took residence there, it was just the obvious choice for.
It had to, right? Because
Yeah.
it wasn't going to be called dirty water.
That's right, exactly. Cool. Well, Riggs, have a fabulous day, and thank you for being with us today. I really appreciate you sharing your new technology with us.
Christine, I wish you a great year ahead, and let's those who are touched by fires, our thoughts are with them, and we're here to make your water clean.
Awesome. Thank you, Riggs, and thank you, listener, for listening. I know you're like, oh, this is kind of interesting. So why don't you think right now of 3 to 5 people who are that sort of person who wants to be on the cutting edge, who wants to be discovering new things, who likes to do a bit of research and get their hands dirty or clean in this case, and forward this episode to them because they will appreciate it and they'll think you're really cool and we'll appreciate it too. And then come back and join us again next week.
Thank you so much, Christine.
Thank you, Rick.